The reality here is that Trump is lying. There is information he can release that is not under audit, that being the first 2 pages of his 1040 and his Schedule A. These are the things. It's sort of like saying, here's the list of chapters in a book, and him saying, I can't show it to you because my book is under review. Nobody's looking at the chapters. And Trump can disclose the broad confines of everything we would want to know about his financial condition and his financial involvements without doing anything to affect an audit.
Betsy, is Trump lying?
No, I'd like to point out what your guest just said. He says he wants to know about Trump's financial condition. But as the law requires, both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have released their financial disclosures. Trump's 10
Betsy,
times
don't
as
be
detailed.
ridiculous.
Let
the Lieutenant Governor finish.
Trump's 10 times as detailed as Hillary Clinton's. If you want to know about either candidate's financial conditions, you don't see it in a tax return, as anyone who's ever filled out a tax return knows. It doesn't list your assets and liabilities.
Let me start by throwing one question at Betsy. Let me start by throwing one question at you. There are 580 some odd entities that are listed in Trump's financial disclosure. Of them, a large number of them, he is only a limited partner. You say it's disclosed? Who are his other partners?
Oh, yes.
Who are the general partners?
Let me point out, you will not find out.
Who are the people he's involved with? Let me finish,
Betsy. Do not
Betsy.
pretend that you know what limited partnership tax returns look like, and you would not,
I'm not
see
asking for
those
the tax
in Schedule A.
returns. I'm asking for him to disclose who his partners are.
Do you have an answer to his question, Lieutenant Governor, over the partners?
Yes, I do have an answer to his question. What he's really engaged in is something the Democrats call tax shaming, and this is it. He and others in the media want to see what Donald Trump's marginal tax rate is, how much of his income he paid in taxes, because politicians generally pay the top rate. They only have paychecks and speaking fees, whereas business people like Mike Bloomberg, former mayor of New York, and others have property tax deductions, depreciation allowances, investment tax credits, capital gains rates, all of the things that Congress created to incentivize businesses to take risks. But when those business people take those risks and use those deductions, stop interrupting me, you're very rude. When they take those deductions, they pay a lower rate. And as the New York Times indicated in its very biased editorial, they're already salivating at the fact that Donald Trump would pay a lower rate, as if paying more than you legally owe is somehow virtuous.
Let me jump in, if I may. The issue is about the audit, right? But my question with regard to the transparency in the tax returns is, why doesn't Donald Trump show proof of an audit? Because to everything I've read, and Kurt, you can agree or disagree, I've seen no proof, no evidence of that.
Oh yes, no. He has demonstrated. Let me finish. He has demonstrated that he is under audit, but let me be clear.
But let me, if I may. Hold on. On the audit note, guys, on the audit note, if he's saying now that Hillary Clinton, that he would release his tax returns if Hillary Clinton shows those emails, doesn't that then infer that there would be no audit and he would then release his tax returns? I'm confused.
Won't, because those tax returns will be picked apart for the next 62 days, and what most voters what most voters should want to know is what their reportable income is going to look like for the next 4 years, not what Donald Trump's is. The fact is that Hillary Clinton's economic plan will push us into a recession. Donald Trump's will mean higher reported income for almost everyone.
Kurt, jump in.
Well, several things here. Number one, Newsweek has been pushing for the Trump campaign to release the IRS notice of audit for weeks. They refuse. We have been pushing for them to release the 2 pages of the first 2 pages of the 1040 and the Schedule A. They refuse. Betsy is saying, oh, it's because they're so frightened that what people will see and what they'll do with them. You know, let me just say one thing. Betsy, when we were talking about Obamacare, you started talking about Edward Snowden types hacking people's information and sending it out on the internet, people's personal medical records. You say nonsense. Everyone
I have no
has
idea
released
what your
their tax
personal attack is about. That is ridiculous.
I can show you what you wrote. It was nonsense. I wrote about it. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. This is information that every single presidential candidate has released. Trump can release these 3 pages, even if they're under audit, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the audit. And if you're saying he's not doing it because he's afraid of what people will say,
short answer, Betsy. Short answer, Betsy. Why doesn't he do that?
Yes, I'm just pointing it out now. When Michael Bloomberg ran for mayor in New York 3 times, he was the darling of the left. He did not release his tax rate, his taxable income.
He was running for mayor.
This is the presidency of the United States.
He wasn't president of the United States.
If you would kindly not interrupt me, I'm pointing out why. Because this demand for tax returns, which is not part of the law, is a system rigged by politicians to shame business people who pay a lower rate than people who have ordinary income through a paycheck. That's exactly what it's about, and I hope Donald Trump does not fall for it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Betsy thinks the American people are stupid.